Hello, everybody. My name is Ray. Welcome to the Evangelical Dark Web. Today, we're going to be talking about the Nashville shooting. We're going to be talking about Julie Roys specifically promoting transgenderism in response in her reporting of the Nashville shooting. And there is a trend going on that the mainstream media is taking the side of the mass shooter in this case. The Nashville shooting resulted in the death of six people, three young children, three adults, and it took place at a Christian school. And it was done by a former student of a Christian school who now identifies as transgender named Audrey Hale. And she shot up this place and killed six people, but was gunned down by police, thank God. So we're going to be talking about Julie Roys and the mainstream media trend of siding with the shooter, and we know why they're siding with the shooter. So we're going to talk about that. But first, I want to let you know Evangelical Dark Web is a Christian news gathering and commentary ministry. The least you can do to support us is liking this video, subscribing to the channel, podcast if you are new. And otherwise, we have a Patreon-like system that you can support us and get more benefits. Don't forget to sign up for the free newsletter that's linked in the description below. So we're going to be talking about this article that I wrote. Julie Roys promotes transgenderism, apologizes for mislabeling the Nashville shooter. And Julie Roys is a feminist journalist who operates in faith-based circles. And we're going to talk more about her background in a second. But she is, a hater of John MacArthur. Like, that's who, she really wants to take John MacArthur down. And I'm not a MacArthur bro, but she, it's an obsession for her. Whereas, I just call balls and strikes as they come. And, Julie Roys is scum. So, anyway, no issue quite reveals the inadequacy of modern journalism, quite like that of transgenderism, despite the logical inconsistencies of the ideology. And you can tell how reliable an outlet is based on this issue. I did a video about 2 years ago about how very few major outlets outside of mainstream media are good on this issue. Very few. Breitbart, I believe, was one of them. And Christian Post, for all the crap I give them, was another. The tragedy that happened earlier this week in Nashville, whereby a woman who identifies as a tranny murdered 3 children and 3 adults before being gunned down by officers. And I have the pictures of the 6 victims here, just so we don't forget these people. And because the shooter is in the most protected category, accountability will not be forthcoming. I don't know if you've seen the meme, oh, you're transgender, you can do whatever you want. And we certainly see this in society with Ezra Miller and a bunch of other instances where this, bad behavior by a certain group of people is never held accountable. And you see that with this Daily Mail article where they're like, exclusive Nashville mass shooter was rejected by her Christian parents. So it's the parents' fault. That's basically, and look at the title image, the thumbnail there, trans outcast. They're trying to paint her as a victim of bad parents. In reality, I got to think as a father, if my children end up like that somewhere along the line I failed. I just have that on my mind, and I'm very conscious of that as I have, children of my own. But so I'm not going to completely say that the parents are great parents, but they're not the people who are responsible for this event. The only person who's responsible for this event are the single person who pulled the trigger. So, Julie Roys apparently, doesn't know how words work, and she went out affirming transgenderism in her reporting on the story. So here's a screenshot of a tweet. Correction, shooter was a trans man. My apologies. Police initially referred to the shooter as a woman. Then some media reported that the shooter was a trans woman, which isn't a real thing, by the way, trying to keep up with this developing story. So a trans man is not a real category of a man. It's just not. We've talked about this with like Elliot Page or Ellen Page or whatever her name is, who was very excellent in the movie Juno, playing a pregnant woman. But here, there she went. And then we got Julie Roy's. So she's using incorrect language. This is unbiblical language. In my upcoming book, Winning Not Winsome's the title of it. I talk about this. This is one of the last things I added to the book, was how we should not be using these labels. Trans man and trans woman shouldn't be using these labels because they're not legitimate categories. They betray our arguments. They betray our convictions when we use these labels. So I'm using Julie Roy's as an object lesson, but she's not betraying her convictions. She doesn't have any. There is no undergirding theology behind what Julie Roy's does over at the Reed Report. And this is just not an exception to the instance. So she says that she was trying to keep up with a developing story. And then this Sam Wandering, who I believe is a pronouns and bio type of guy, is basically saying, are you referring to Audrey Hale using female pronouns on purpose in your article, Julie Roy's? And then she replies by saying, no, it's just been a very confusing 24 hours. And, that is true. Like, again, I'm not eager to comment on mass shootings or tragedies. I'm just not. I'm in the, Christian conservative news gathering, line of work here, even though it's not a full-time job or even a part-time job. Money-wise, I don't make anything. But I'm not eager to jump on these stories. I'm just not. I'm not here to sensationalize the death of innocent people. But we got to acknowledge a few things. One, a category that is, pretty mentally unstable. We're going to see more of this in the future. I just don't think. There's a tweet by John Doyle that really summarized it well, that there's a portion of America that believes that this school deserved it for their beliefs. So this isn't going to go away. And that's what you saw in that Daily Mail article. They're basically saying, oh, this was Christianity's fault. But that's not the case at all. So there's no such thing as a transgender man, as transgender is not a category of man. It's not a type of man. We shouldn't be saying biological to qualify, because a man is a man. A woman is a woman. We don't need to add the label biological or transgender. A man is a man. A woman is a woman. Nor, interestingly enough, many conservative media accurately improved their reporting by stating that Audrey Hale was a woman who identified as transgender. Now, again, I would just use the word transvestite, but this is a major improvement, which I will, compliment and laud. However, we should use this type of language more often, especially as it relates to dudes who feel pretty. Yet, so Julie Roy's, she claims that she's theologically sound reporter. She says that she's theologically conservative. She's an evangelical, but has routinely gone after men in ministry because they are men. Like, she is a man-hater. She's a man-hating feminist. She even went after Liberty University for a snowball fight. They had a snowball fight which violated Branch Covidian guidelines because she was a hardcore Branch Covidian. Surprise. And she went after them for a snowball fight. So you can't take her seriously at all. After being a champion for the abuse narrative in the church and labeling people abusers baselessly, Julie Roy's would be outed as a groomer who abused, by her standards, going the words of Jesus, by your standards, you will be judged. She's a groomer. And, she had a quasi-romantic relationship with a young female student in her youth ministry. And she describes that in her own book. And callously, too. She's victim blaming by her standards. So, with her defense of transgenderism as a valid identity category, this is another object lesson for what sort of ideology feminism leads to. Because, again, she's a feminist. Julie Roy's represents the worst in faith-based journalism. That's kind of how I end that article. In any case, I hope I shed some light on how we should address these kind of issues. We're going to see a lot more of these issues in the future, in my opinion. I don't say that uh, joyously, obviously, and I'm not trying to say that callously either. I just think we need to be prepared, and we need to acknowledge that, first of all, um, Audrey Hale hated Christ before she hated those children. So that's why she killed those children. She hated Christ. That's why. And, prayers with the families. But anyway, that's all I got to say about that. My name's Ray. This is the Evangelical Dark Web. If you like this kind of content, subscribe. Otherwise, leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about what I think, and I will catch you on the next one.